What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is CJ. This is Out of Bounds, and in today's video, we're going to be doing some single stat player props for today's massive NBA slate. We've got 12 NBA games to talk about, so we're going to be digging into our usual single stat player props for points, assists, rebounds, and three-point makes, so definitely stay tuned. Don't go anywhere if you play on PrizePicks or you're betting on any of the various sports betting websites out there. Now, yesterday, we went 5 for 8 with our picks. Of course, you probably could have told from yesterday's video that the Atlanta Hawks assist props that I featured, wasn't too keen on those, didn't really like those. The one that really burned me, that hurt me the worst, was Buddy Hield in his three-point makes. He had 3 3-point makes in the first quarter, and then he went 0 for 7 in the remaining 3 quarters. How tilting is that? So he did not hit his over on 3.5 3-point props. Very deflating, very disappointing. But otherwise, we had a pretty good day yesterday. 5 for 8's not bad. I'll take those types of numbers any single day of the week. Now, if this is your first time on the channel, welcome to Out of Bounds. Here on this channel, we talk single stat player props for PrizePicks. Our primary focus is NBA right now. So if you're into that sort of thing, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. There's about 49% of you who watch these videos on a daily basis that have not subscribed yet. And in case you haven't been here before, we're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. Yes, we are finally reaching the summit. One of my goals, becoming a YouTube partner, 1,000 subscribers is something that you have to have in order to hit that goal. So definitely subscribe. It helps me out. And hopefully I'm going to help you out by delivering some bomb picks for you today. So we got a massive slate, as I talked about. 12 NBA games on today's deck. So we got to start talking about some news real quick. And the first one, we got Jaren Jackson Jr., who has been out for this season. He could make his season debut for the Memphis Grizzlies on Wednesday. Very talented young player, so be good to see him back out there for Memphis. We got this Philadelphia 76ers Seth Curry with a hip injury. He's questionable on the first half of a back-to-back for Philadelphia. Joel Embiid is now questionable for the 76ers on Wednesday, so that would be a big hit to their lineup if he does not take the floor for them. So you would expect pretty big boosts to the likes of Ben Simmons. Obviously, Tobias Harris is another guy that would get a big boost, so got to keep an eye out on news today for sure. It looks like Danilo Gallinari is going to be out with a foot injury again for Wednesday for the Atlanta Hawks, so that's a pretty big blow for them. Kevin Durant, Brooklyn Nets, still dealing with that thigh injury. He's going to be out again for Wednesday. It looks like Nicholas Claxton also going to miss once again for the Brooklyn Nets. Damian Lillard, a big one to talk about. He's dealing with a hamstring injury, but reportedly he's expecting to play tonight for the Portland Trail Blazers. So be careful if you're looking at CJ McCollum or some of these other guys that play for Portland. They will be heavily impacted by the #1 player for Portland returning in Damian Lillard. Moving on down the line here, Damian Lee, Golden State Warriors, questionable on Wednesday. Looks like Paul Watson for the Toronto Raptors is going to be out on Wednesday dealing with a knee injury. Killian Hayes, injury management, out on Wednesday for Detroit. Looks like Jeremy Grant is back for the Detroit Pistons, so that's a big boost for their lineup. Jeremy Grant getting back in that starting lineup. Doug McDermott out for the Pacers with an ankle injury Wednesday. Larry Nance is not on Wednesday's injury report, so be careful when playing guys like Kevin Love, Jarrett Allen. Larry Nance will be back in the rotation, and he will be getting pretty significant minutes. Here's a nice news piece here. The Wizards are going to be without Rui Hachimura dealing with a knee injury. He's going to be out again on Wednesday, so that's something to definitely keep in mind there. Moving on down the line, let's see if there's anything else that stands out. Looks like the Portland Trail Blazers will be resting Jusuf Nurkic on Tuesday, but he will be, which was last night, he will be available for tonight's Wednesday clash with the Denver Nuggets. So Jusuf Nurkic should be back in the lineup tonight. Moving on down, I'm not seeing too much. Isaiah Roby's going to be out again for the Thunder on Wednesday. Not very impactful news. Dylan Brooks, he's dealing with a thigh injury. He's questionable for Memphis today. So that's something to keep an eye on. Jonas Valanciunas dealing with a concussion. He's going to be out on Wednesday, guys. So big one there. Domantas Sabonis dealing with some back issues. He's going to be out for the Indiana Pacers. That is another big impactful one. Lou Dort dealing with a hip injury. Questionable for the Oklahoma City Thunder on Wednesday. And it looks like Tobias Harris is still dealing with some knee problems. He's questionable for Philadelphia on Wednesday. Ben Simmons also dealing with an illness. He's questionable for Philadelphia on Wednesday. So as you can see, there's a trend here, a ton of impactful news, a lot of big names to keep an eye out on as we start to, set our lineups, get into some of these picks and stuff like that. Here's another one. Jimmy Butler, ankle, questionable for Miami on Wednesday. Bam Adebayo, knee, questionable for Miami on Wednesday. James Harden had a setback with his hamstring. He is going to be out indefinitely. Not going to be in there for Brooklyn tonight. Man. All right. That's enough. I mean, we could go on and on. Tim Hardaway Jr. dealing with an illness, but you guys got to stay plugged into the injury news. It is a big way to get an edge and an advantage in a slate like today with 12 games going on. There's a lot of news to keep an eye out on. So if you're in our Discord community, which is completely free to join, I'll leave a link down in the description of the video. I've got an NBA news channel in there that pumps in all of the latest NBA news, including injuries, starting lineups, things like that, completely free. You guys join the Discord, keep an eye on that NBA news channel, and maybe we can get ahead here at a little bit of an advantage. All right, with all that news stuff out of the way, let's start talking some player props. The first one I want to talk about is going to be Draymond Green, power forward for the Golden State Warriors, and I want to talk about his points prop. Again, they're taking on the Washington Wizards tonight. That game tips off at 7:10 p.m. And at 8.5 points, I'm liking the under on Draymond Green. He's just not a guy who scores a ton of points for this Golden State Warriors team. That's just not his role. He's more of a facilitator. He gets a lot of assists. He's more of a glass cleaner. In other words, a rebounder. So points are not typically his strong suit. Let's talk about the game totals real quick. Totals on this one, 238.5 points. You're looking at Washington as a 2-point underdog at home. Now, I'm loving this total. I mean, if there's ever a game to target some overs, this is the one. So yeah, there's a little bit of concern here taking Draymond Green under at 8.5 points with so many implied points to be scored by both of these teams. Now, the spread is great. It's just 2 points, meaning the game's going to stay close. It's going to stay competitive, and that is a good sign for stars in this game. That means they should get a full run of minutes, and they should be in there for a full workload. So let's start by highlighting this points column. By the way, we are on numberfire.com. If you have not noticed yet, or if this is your first time tuning in, Numberfire is fantastic because they've got fantasy point projections. Plus, I got single stat points, assists, and rebound projections on here. So it's a good place to reference some of these different stat categories before you go and lock in any picks on PrizePicks. So the first thing we're going to do is type in Draymond Green's name, and we're going to take a look at his single stat player prop. Now, he is at 7.8 real life points. So if we're looking to take the under here, we want him to be at least 8 points or less. So 8 points or less is the target for Draymond Green. So 7.8 is his projected total tonight. I'm liking the way that's looking so far. Now, the next site we like to use here on the channel is NBA.com/players. If you've never been to NBA.com and checked out their stats section, man, they've got a pretty robust stat search engine. So I love it over here. I'm going to type in Draymond Green's name into the search bar, and you can see his name pops right up. Now, from here, I control click, or you can command click if you're on a Mac computer, and up comes his player card. Now you can see his season stats right here across the line, and at 6.6 points per game for the season, the under is definitely looking like a strong play so far. But we don't stop there. No, we're going to click on the stats tab here underneath his name. We're going to move on down the line, click this traditional splits link, and with this, it allows you to click an advanced filters option. And from there, you can change the season segment from all games. In other words, going from the season averages to just his last 5 games. Then we click run it. We run a little report, and it gives us some feedback. Now you can see that he has appeared in all 5 of the last 5 games. And in that time span, he is scoring 9.6 real life points per game. So his scoring average is actually trending upward versus where it's at for the season. It's actually 3 whole points more than where he's scoring at on a season average. So that's a little bit of a red flag, a little bit of a caution here for Draymond Green in these points. But let's take it a step further, and we're going to rotowire.com. Rotowire.com has single stat point props, and it allows you to compare different sports books out there on some of these player props. So for Draymond Green, DraftKings Sportsbook, they've got him at 7.5 points today. At 7.5 points, the over is looking like the way people are going. But we're not talking 7.5 points. Our reference here on PrizePicks is 8.5 points. Now, at 8.5 points, people over on FanDuel are betting the under. and it's a minus 132. So it's a pretty strong position that they're taking on the under. Now, these other sites, they've got them up at 7.5, so that's not really applicable to what we're looking at here. It's not a apples to apples comparison, should we say. So overall, here's the story. It's a high scoring game. It's a close spread, meaning all the starters are going to probably play well into the fourth quarter. On top of that, his recent scoring averages are on the up and up. They're on the rise. So he's actually scoring more points in his last 5 games than he has been for the season, which is a little bit concerning if we're looking to take the under on 8.5 points. And then finally, last but not least, the only good thing going for him is the fact that on FanDuel, people are betting the under at 8.5 points. So this one looks a little risky for me, but gun to head, if you forcing me to make a decision here, I'm probably going to lean toward taking the over just based on those totals, that spread, the fact that in his last 5 games, he is scoring the ball a lot better than he has been lately. So I might flip-flop here. Instead of going under on Draymond Green, I think I would much more rather go on the over for Draymond Green. So there you have it for him. Now with Draymond Green all wrapped up with a bow on top, let's talk Collin Sexton, the point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now Collin Sexton, he's at 23.5 points. They're taking on the Chicago Bulls tonight. And I think I'm liking the under on Collin Sexton at 23.5 points. Let's hope he can score 23 or less. Now we're going to dig in a little deeper here and do the research together and see if this makes any sense at all. So we type in Collin Sexton's name, and you can see that his projections for points today say that he's going to score about 23 points. Now that would be great because we want him to score less than 23.5. So if we look at the game totals here, they're pretty low. 210.5 points expected to be scored by these two teams when you combine the totals for both of them. It is a 3-point spread, which means that the starters, like Collin Sexton, should play a full run of minutes in this one. Don't expect this game to blow out. It looks like it's going to stay close and competitive. So I think that it works in Collin Sexton's favor, at least for us, if we're looking to take the under, that the game totals are so low. Now, if it was like a 230 implied total, and I'm looking to take the under on Collin Sexton, I'd be a little bit more worried. But 210.5 points, I think that we're doing A-okay here with Collin Sexton going under so far. So let's go ahead and punch his name in here to NBA.com. Take a look at how he's been scoring the basketball for the season and for his last 5 games. Now you can see for the season, he is a 24.3 point per game scorer, which is a little bit of an issue here because we're looking to take the under on 23.5 points. We don't want him scoring 24 or more points if we're looking to take the under. So we're going to click the traditional splits link, advanced filters, change the season segment to 5 games. You guys, you can do all this yourself. I'm showing you how to do all this stuff for free. This costs you no money at all. Now, if you don't have time to do this, that's where my Patreon comes in. I've got a Patreon out there where I do everything that you're seeing in today's video and then some. In other words, I only have so much time here in a 30-minute YouTube video to cover so many guys, but over on my Patreon, I'm doing a lot more diving into single stat player props for you, the points, the assists, the rebounds, the 3-point makes. It's just $20 a month. It helps supports me as a creator, and I give back to you guys by providing some pretty awesome spreadsheets. Matter of fact, last night's spreadsheet, man, it was on fire, guys. It actually went 15 out of 19. So out of 19 single stat props that I put on the spreadsheet, 15 of them hit. That's a pretty darn good percentage if I do say so myself. So anyway, back to this. Collin Sexton, his last 5 games, 26.7 points per game. So that's actually higher than his season averages of 24. So things are trending in the wrong direction if we're looking to take the under on Collin Sexton tonight. This might be another one that leads me to want to flip-flop on Collin Sexton. So we take out Draymond Green's name, we type in Collin Sexton's name, and you can see on DraftKings Sportsbook now, this is kind of interesting, despite his averages for the season, for his last 5 games, people are betting the under on DraftKings Sportsbook. Same thing with FanDuel Sportsbook, 23.5, he's a minus 122 to go under. BetMGM at 23.5, he's a minus 125 to go under. And then last but not least, PointsBet. They've got him at minus 128, the strongest position of any of the sites to go under 23.5 points. So Let's just wrap it up. The game totals, not so great. They're pretty low, which is good if we're looking to take the under on Collin Sexton. The spread is close, which means Collin Sexton will probably play a fair, healthy amount of minutes here, which is not good for our case on taking the under on Collin Sexton's points. Now, his season averages and his last 5 games, they are both higher than 23.5 points, which is, again, a knock against playing the under on Collin Sexton's points. But last but not least, the thing working for us if we're looking to take the under on Collin Sexton is the fact that all 4 of the sports books that we reference in today's video, every one of them are betting the under on Collin Sexton going under 23.5 points. So you got a decision to make. Are you taking the over on Collin Sexton or are you taking the under? And listen, if it's not super clear to you, if you don't feel strongly about it, there's always a third option, over, under, or fade, which means just walk away and find a better play elsewhere. And sometimes that is the move. That is absolutely, definitely on the table. All right, so now with the points out of the way, we can move on to assists. The first guy I want to talk about in this assist prop is going to be Coby White at 5.5 assists. I'm thinking that might be a little bit too high for Coby White. I think they got him projected for too many assists, so I'm looking to take the under. We've already talked about this game being pretty low totals. Yes, the spread is close, competitive, but I think that this is just a little too high here for Coby White, and you'll see why. So if we type in Coby's name, you can see for the season, he is averaging for tonight, he is projected for 4.3 assists, which puts him, 1.2 assists under his projection over on PrizePicks. So I think 4.3 assists is looking pretty good if we're looking to take the under here on Coby White. So we move on over here to NBA.com. Let's type Kobe's name in. C-O-B-Y, not K-O-B-E, R-I-P, Kobe Bryant. Can't ever forget that guy. But for the season, his assists are at 4.5, meaning that, yeah, the under is still looking like the way to go based on how he's been assisting on the season. Now we move this over to the last 5 games by clicking advanced filters, changing the season segment to last 5, and we click run it. And we run that report, you can see his assists are up a little bit by 0.5, but still at 5 assists, that puts him under 5.5. So we just need him to drop 5 dimes or less if we're looking to take the under here, and we'll be in the money. So I'm still riding with the under unless something here changes my mind. Now we click the assist button down at the bottom of this RotoWire page. We type in Kobe's name, and on the DraftKings Sportsbook at 5.5 assists, it looks like he's a -125 to go under. So far that's looking good. FanDuel at 5.5, -122 to go under. BetMGM at 5.5, -125 to go under. And last but not least, a super strong position being taken on PointsBet at 5.5 assists. He is a -140 to go under there. So guys, I don't see anything that can persuade me to change or flip-flop my initial gut reaction on Coby White and these assists. I still think 5.5 assists are too many. I'm taking the under on Coby White, and I think that you should too. This is looking like a much more solid play than the first 2 props we looked at. All right, the next assist prop I want to talk about is going to be from a big man. We're going to switch it up. Now, he's just not any old big man. He's actually a skilled big man having a great season for the New York Knicks, and we're talking Julius Randle at 6.5 assists. Now, at 6.5 assists, I think that might be a little bit too much for Julius Randle versus this Atlanta Hawks team. 6.5, I'm looking to take the under on Julius Randle. Let's do the research together. Let's see if we are out of our minds or if we are completely sane in taking the under on Julius Randle in 6.5 today. Now, Number Fire's got him projected at 5.6 assists, which puts him almost 1 whole assist under 6.5. But listen, we only need him to go for 6 assists or less if we're looking to take the under here. So this 5.6 is a good step in the right direction. Now let's consider the game totals and the spread real quick in this one, because that one could, that could alter the opinion here of Julius Randle and going under. Now, if we scroll over here, you can see that New York, Atlanta is implied to score 218 points. So I wouldn't call this an astronomical number or anything. 230 or more, now we're talking big numbers, but 218, it's not that big of a number. I'm not too afraid. especially if I'm looking to take the under here. Now, it is a 1.5 point spread, so the game is going to stay close and competitive, at least according to Vegas. So you can expect Julius Randle to get his full run of minutes in this one. All right, so now that we know how many points are implied to be scored by these teams, and we've got a better idea of the spread, we can move over to NBA.com and see if we continue to hit good trends here on the under for Julius Randle and this 6.5 assist number. Now you can see for the season, he is averaging 6.1 assists, which is less than 6.5 assists. So you got to think about these numbers on a spectrum. You got 6 assists, 7 assists. More often than not, he is over on the 6 assist side of things, which is where we want him to be tonight. So that is looking very, very good. Now, once again, we're going to go in and we're going to look at his last 5 games to get a more recent sample size and see if those assists are trending up or trending down for Julius Randle. Now, he's appeared in all 5 of his last 5 games. This guy's been playing almost 42 minutes per game over his last 5 games, getting a ton of run here for the New York Knicks. And in that time span, his assists are just a hair over 6.5. They're actually at 6.6, guys. So just a slight, very slight over on 6.5, meaning he's just barely leaning more towards 7 assists than he is 6 assists. Now, we're going to do the last little bit of research here, and that requires us to return to rotowire.com, where we type in Julius Randle's name. Again, a completely free website. If you don't have the time, I completely understand. That's why, again, I offer that Patreon if you're interested in doing that. But DraftKings Sportsbook at 6.5 assists, minus 139 on the under. Strong position being taken there on the under, so that's looking good. FanDuel, minus 128 on the under. BetMGM, a big old minus 143, looking great. And last but not least, to solidify, to make this a rock solid pick, PointsBet, minus 154 on the under at 6.5 assists. So I'm rocking with it, guys. I'm going to stay with the under on Julius Randle and these 6.5 assists tonight. And I like the way that that's looking. I like both Kobe White and Julius Randle much more than I like those 2 point props that we talked about in the beginning of the video. Now, with assists out of the way, we can move on to the next statistical category, which is going to be rebounds. And for rebounds, we've got 2 guys who happen to share the same first name, Nikola Vucevic and the Denver Nuggets big man, Nikola Jokic. So it's the battle of the colas, Pepsi versus Coke or something like that. Anyway, Nikola Vucevic is at 11.5 rebounds today. And I think, once again, in this game, with the totals being a little bit lower, that I'm going to take the under on 11.5 boards. He's going to have a tough matchup here. He's going to go against the likes of Jared Allen, Kevin Love, Larry Nance. So pretty formidable foes here who are going to be crashing the glass along with him. Not to mention his teammate, Daniel Tice, he might cut in or eat into some of those rebounds as well. So that's something else to keep in mind. So let's start things out here by clicking the rebound column. You can see it highlights this nice purdy yellow, making it much easy for us to see what's going on here. So we start typing in Vucevic's name, and you can see he's projected at 10.9 rebounds today. So even if we round that up and call it 11 rebounds, that's exactly where we need him to stay. 11 rebounds or less, especially if we're looking to take the under like we are. So far, we're in the right direction here on Nikola Vucevic. So we type in Vuc's name here. We control click on it. And for the season, you can see his rebounding average is at 11.3 rebounds per game, which is still less than 11.5. But as I do with every time I mention Nikola Vucevic, he's played the majority of the games this season with the Orlando Magic. He is a newcomer to the Chicago Bulls team, which is why I like to look at the last 5 games as well. I think it tells a better tale and gives us a better idea of how Vuce has been rebounding the ball in his recent games with Chicago. So we do that, and in his last 5, he's appeared in all 5 games, playing about 33 minutes a game. Now, his rebounds in that time span are at 10.2. So that is a pretty healthy under versus the 11.5 rebound prop that he's expected to have here on PrizePicks today. So I'm still liking the under on Nikola Vucevic quite a bit. So we click the rebound button. Moves us right to where we want to be here on RotoWire. We type in Vucevic's name. DraftKings Sportsbook, minus 125 to go under. FanDuel, minus 122 to go under. BetMGM, minus 133 to go under. And if we scroll over here, PointsBet, minus 134 to go under. So I'm not seeing anything that's really raising a big red flag for me. I'm liking Nikola Vucevic still on the under 11.5 rebounds. And that's looking like a pretty solid pick. So with one Nikola down, we've got one Nikola to go. So let's scroll on down the board here on PrizePicks. By the way, if you've never played on PrizePicks before, you should definitely check it out. There's a little banner at the bottom of this video. If you use my promo code OOBDFS, you get a 100% deposit match on your first deposit. So if you put in $50, they're going to match you with $50. If you put in $100, they're going to match $100 for you. So give it a try. They do single stat player props, plus they do fantasy points, and they offer a wide variety of different sports. So Nikola Jokic, 10.5 boards. He's taken on the Portland Trail Blazers, and we talked about at the top of the video, they should have Jusuf Nurkic and Enes Kanter completely healthy. So it's not going to be an easy road here for Nikola Jokic to hit this rebound number. So let's move over to numberfire.com. And let's look at the game totals and the spread real quick for this one. I think this one's going to be a later game. Moving on over. It's actually the last game on the board here. You can see that the totals are pretty healthy. 230 implied points. That's a big number. Plus the spread is just 1 point favoring the Denver Nuggets as the visiting team. So I expect the starters to be out there for a full run of minutes. Nikola Jokic should get all the minutes he can possibly handle. Not really worried about a blowout or anything like that. So with that in mind, now we can do a little search here for Jokic's name. And wow, interesting enough, 10.5 rebounds on PrizePicks, 10.5 rebounds here on NumberFire, which means basically, if you think about 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds, you flip a coin, whatever way it lands, that's the way you should go. It's kind of a coin flip at 10.5 projection. So let's see if we can maybe break this little tie up here. We'll type in Jokic's name on NBA.com, and up comes his player card. For the season, he is averaging 11.1 rebounds per game. Now, much of those games were without newcomer Aaron Gordon, who has probably cut into Nikola Jokic's rebounding. I'm just kind of guessing. We're going to do a last 5 game report real quick on Jokic and see if the 11.1 goes up or if the 11.1 goes down when we consider how he's been doing in his last 5 games. So let's run that report now. And for his last 5 games, he's appeared in all 5, playing just a shade under 35 minutes per game. His rebound numbers are actually opposite of what I thought they would be. They're trending upwards. So he is going for 12.6 rebounds per game in his last 5, which is a big red flag for me if I'm looking to take the under on Nikola Jokic and this 10.5 rebound prop. So that's a little scary. Not going to lie, a little bit concerning here. So we're going to do a search here for Jokic on RotoWire. Now, not seeing any action at 10.5 on DraftKings Sportsbook, but on FanDuel Sportsbook, they've got him as a minus 120 to go under. So 10.5 boards, they're liking the under. And an even stronger take, a stronger position being made here on BetMGM by bettors. They are taking a minus 133 position on the under for 10.5 rebounds for Nikola Jokic. And then as you can see, we are a complete blank here on PointsBet. They do not have a rebound prop up for Jokic. So I would say this, it's a little concerning with the totals being high, the spread being so close, plus working against the under is the fact that you've got the averages for the season being higher than 10.5. Plus you got his last 5 game averages being higher than the season averages and much higher than his 10.5 rebound prop tonight. And I'm just a little concerned here. Like, yeah, maybe Nurkic, maybe Kanter getting his way a little bit, but it's a little concerning. So I'm probably going to either fade, which means just walk away, find a better play elsewhere, or I'm going to probably lean toward taking the over on Nikola Jokic. But this is a tough one, guys. This is definitely not crystal clear for me. All right, so that's going to do it for our rebound props. Let's talk about 3-point makes. 3-pointers tonight. We've got two guys that you don't really think of. They're not the first names that come to mind when you think about 3-point shooters. And the first one's going to be Darius Bassley. Now, Oklahoma City Thunder forward. He's taking on the Indiana Pacers. Game tips off at 7:10 p.m. tonight. He is projected for 1.5 3-point makes tonight. So he's got to make 2 if we're looking to take the over. Let's take a look and see how Bassley's been shooting the basketball in his recent games. First thing I want to do is look at the game totals and the spread here. So let's scroll back over and find this one. There you have it. 230.5 points implied for this game. So that's a pretty high total. Now, the concerning part is the fact that Indiana is a 9.5-point favorite, meaning they're going to blow Oklahoma City out, most likely. When will the blowout occur? Will it be later in the game? Will they just start to pile on the points early, maybe in the first half? I don't know. But Vegas is usually pretty spot on here. So when you got almost a 10-point spread on the board, proceed with caution. Now, I think Bassley's not going to be too impacted by this. I think he should be pretty much almost like blowout proof. He's going to get a pretty healthy run. So I'm not too worried about that. But knowing the totals, knowing the spread, we can move forward here and see how Bassley has shot the ball from beyond the arc for the season and his last 5 games. So let's click his stats because the initial player card here does not have any 3-point make statistics. And you can see for the season, 5.2 3-point attempts per game. Now he's making exactly 1.5, so that doesn't really help us out here. So they've got it projected at 1.5. He is making 1.5 per game for the season. Now, here's the devil in the details, we'll say. We'll look at the last 5 games, and we'll see if that 1.5 goes up or goes down. We want it to go up because we're looking to take the over on 1.5. So in his last 5 games, he's attempting 5.8 threes. He is making 1.2, so it's actually trending downward in the opposite direction. So if we're looking to take the over, the fact that he's shooting it worse in his last 5 games is not a good sign for us. Maybe we are going to end up flip-flopping on this one. Let's click the 3-point category. Let's type in Bassley's name. Now, DraftKings, interestingly enough, at 1.5 3-point makes, minus 134 for the over. FanDuel at 1.5 makes, he's a minus 132 for the over. BetMGM, minus 133 for the over. And in an even stronger position here on PointsBet, they are taking Bassley at minus 140. So I think a lot of this Vegas action has to do with the game totals being so high, over 230 implied points on this one. They're kind of ignoring the averages for Bassley, both for the season and for his last 5 games, and they're just hoping that the totals being as high as they are, that Bassley will make more than 1.5 3-pointers made. Now, some interesting news obviously is Lou Dort will not be in the lineup. It doesn't sound like, but keep an eye on that news. So if he's out, then yeah, I think I favor the over on Bassley in this 1.5 3-point make prop. So the next guy we're going to talk about, and the final guy, we've finally reached the end of the video, is Malcolm Brogdon. Now, Brogdon is at 2.5 3-point makes. Of course, he's taken on Oklahoma City. So the other side of this ball here for this Oklahoma City Indiana matchup, Malcolm Brogdon 2.5 point makes. I'm looking to take the over. I'm looking to take the under on Brogdon, the under on Malcolm Brogdon. And with the blowout, well, that might just play into our favor. We're going to take a look right now, though. So let's head back to NBA.com. We'll type in Brogdon's name. And there's only one Brogdon in the NBA, so he comes right up for us. And then from here, we're going to dig into his season stats. All right, and for the season, 6.7 3-point attempts per game. So almost 7. More often than not, he's attempting almost 7 3-point attempts per game. And on those attempts, he's making 2.6 of them. So going slightly above 2.5, meaning he is leaning more often than not toward 3 makes than he is toward 2 makes. Now, let's change this. Let's look at the last 5 games and see how things change. Is it going to go up or down from 2.6? Well, it's going down, which is great because we want to take the under, right? So it's trending downward. He's not making as many three-point makes in his recent games as he has for the season. So although his attempts are up at 7.2, his makes are actually down at 2.4. So more recently, he has been averaging closer to 2 makes than 3. So that is looking very promising there. So finally, we're going to head back to RotoWire. We're going to type in Brogdon. And Malcolm Brogdon at 2.5 3-point makes on DraftKings Sportsbook is a -120 for the under. On FanDuel, a -115 for the under. BetMGM, -133 on the under, an even bigger position there. And then finally, PointsBet, -120 on the under there. So all 4 of our reference sites are taking the under on Malcolm Brogdon. His last 5 game averages have been under 2.5 3-point makes. The fact that this game is a blowout is a good and bad thing. Could be a double-edged sword here, meaning if it's a blowout, maybe Brogdon makes a lot of threes and that's the reason it blows out. Or maybe he doesn't get as involved and because of the blowout, he doesn't play as many minutes and he falls short of this 2.5 3-point prop. So there's 2 ways to kind of look at that big blowout number, that big spread. So there you have it, guys. There are some prop picks to consider for today. I know some of them aren't crystal clear. Some of them are a little ambiguous, a little muddy. So you're going to have to make some tough decisions. But hopefully the ones that stand out the best to me were probably the assist stat props. So take a look at those. Maybe that's the way to go. Or drop a name and a prop that I didn't talk about in today's video down in the comments section below. Maybe you can help the people around you that watch these videos. Maybe there's somebody that I didn't get a chance to talk about with there being 12 games and all these players on the board. There's probably some good plays that I missed, but leave them in the comments section. We really appreciate it. Once again, just double check, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on, and good luck tonight. Until we meet again, good luck, and we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace out.